Before we get started with exam objective 1.2, I wanted to spend a few minutes discussing the recent changes to Office 365 and changes to the exam objectives since June 30th, 2016. The Office 365 Admin Center has been given a makeover, as has many of the screens and wizards we'll be working with. A lot of the other resources to date, such as books, training materials, and articles, may reference the old Admin Center and old exam objectives. Also, the changes to the Admin Center were made after the exam objectives changed. So there shouldn't be any questions on the exam regarding the specifics of the screens or wizards or how to navigate them, but just keep this in mind. When I feel it's important, I'll be showing both the old and the new ways of doing things. In addition, SharePoint public websites have been discontinued. They were discontinued in March of 2015, but the configuration of DNS records required for them still show in many training resources. We'll not be including any training material on this. Those who do have SharePoint public websites prior to March 2015 will lose access to them in March 2017. If having a SharePoint public website is important to you, you can still host it yourself with an on-premise SharePoint solution, or you can hire a hosting provider to host it for you. In regards to the exam objective changes, the best way to go over these is just to get a copy of the change document and review the changes one by one. So let's do that. Okay, so to get to the objectives, let's just search for 70-346 exam. And our first Google result should be the exam page. And this is where a lot of information regarding the objectives and the exam information come from. Here are the current objectives, for example. You have your objective here, your sub-objective, and then your topics. But right here it says, as of June 30th, this exam includes content covering the latest updates and features. To learn more about these changes, download here. So let's go ahead and download that, and we'll take a look. Okay, this document shows where changes to exam 70-346 have been made to reflect the latest updates and features of Office 365, June 30th, 2016. Okay, so in the first objective, we have configure tenants for new features and updates. And that makes sense. As we saw, there's a lot to it, and it's fairly important so that you can guarantee the right functionality to the right users. So I understand why that's now a requirement. Set default domain. Okay, this isn't, to me, and as we'll see, this isn't that big a deal, but, you know, I guess it makes sense that you should know how to do that as part of the exam objectives. Configure connected accounts. Now, I'm sure that this was included in the connect existing email accounts for pilot users, but I think this was a little vague, so they tried to make this a little more specific. And connected accounts means something very specific, particularly in Outlook Online. So when we get to this section, we'll discuss that. They removed the word server from the proxy here. I think that's just for clarification that it doesn't necessarily have to be a dedicated proxy server. It could be a proxy service or a proxy appliance. Down here, so the directory synchronization method of connecting your on-premise Active Directory users to Office 365 used to be called the Active Directory Synchronization tool, and now it's called the Azure AD Connect tool. So as the name of the tool changed, they just went ahead and auto-corrected all the AAD sync references to Azure AD Connect. As far as the actual implementation of federated services and single sign-on, they added the ability to switch between federated authentication and password sync, so you can go back and forth between either directory synchronization or single sign-on. So knowing how to move back and forth between those two methods. And then for monitoring and troubleshooting Office 365, I think they just, for clarification purposes, included analyze Office 365 reports instead of just saying audit log. And then down here in the isolate service interruption area, see they added this determine connection issues using the. So instead of just listing the tools they want you to use, they're listing the reason that you should be using them. That knowing the tool is not enough. You need to know how to use the tool to determine what the connection issue is, and that's standard here, here, and here as well. And they also added this Performance Analyzer and Microsoft Support and Recovery Assistant for Office 365. So when we get to there, we'll learn more about how that works. And that's it. That's the changes to the exam objectives as of June 30th. So no mention of the new admin center, again, because I don't think the actual navigation to the different wizards and screens matters, but some things have changed. So we will go over them when necessary here. I'm going to go ahead and log in. That on Microsoft.com. Turn my caps lock off. Did I type that right? Nope, I did not. And just to show you quickly, let's take a look at the old admin center. So we know the new admin center is here. It's got your menu options that you can expand if you want to, and you can minimize into different icons. But if we went to the old admin center, it's similar. It's maybe a little older looking. It's got a similar menu here with expandable menu items. You can minimize it, but once it's minimized, you don't have the ability to access any of the actual menu items. And some things have moved around. So there's no settings, as you can see. You know, we're going to spend a lot of time in settings. Here we have service settings, but it's a little different. So they reorganized the items, and they allowed you to minimize it and still access them via icon. So that's it. Those are the changes. Okay, next up, adding a domain.